Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The USC commitment sweatshirt is back on as Lincoln Riley, USC, land a massive commitment coming from the transfer portal in former Wyoming defensive lineman Gavin Mayer, a guy that we talked about as kind of emerging as a target for USC. They get this one done. I think where you want to start with what Gavin Mayer brings to this USC defense is an experience at the college football level. You start looking at USC on the inside of the defensive line. We all know what we're getting with Bear Alexander, right? One of the more dominant interior defensive linemen you see in college football. I mean, we feel good about Elijah Hughes going into his second year at the college football level. Quite frankly, a player that I think is massively underappreciated in the college football landscape. You feel good about Jide Abisari, Carlin Jones as true freshmen. I think the big question USC fans had was, one, the depth. Gavin Mayer certainly goes a long way in making you feel better about it heading into 2024, but more importantly, the experience that he brings. Has played over 840 snaps during the last 2 years. USC was looking for a guy on the inside of the defensive line that has played a lot of college football. Gavin Mayer is a guy that's played a lot of college football and was really one of the more coveted defensive line targets that we saw in the transfer portal over the last 2 years or 2 weeks, I should say. You take a look at some of the offers, Florida State, Wisconsin, you kind of trust a lot of these Power 5 programs. They like Gavin Mayer a lot. So that makes you feel really good if you're a USC fan landing this commitment, want to get into, what Gavin Mayer brings to this USC defense, how he plays, having dove into the film over the last couple of weeks. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the USC fans. Y'all know I love talking this program, whether it's the high school recruiting trail, whether it's the transfer portal, the amount of support, the amount of fight-ons you guys throw in the comment section. That stuff means the world. I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We got a film deep dive on Gavin Mayer, hopefully out by Friday afternoon after I get some more games in. But without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with, we talked about added depth. That's a check. A guy that has played a lot of football. Those are the two things that you really like. But I think the big question mark that you have is at 285 pounds, how is he going to hold up in the Big Ten? One, give him a little summer session with USC. The amount of weight they've put on some other players on this roster at the 6'4" frame, you kind of feel good about him potentially putting on some weight over the next couple months. But I think more importantly, the question you have at the Group of 5 level is, if you're going to grab Gavin Mayer, you're going to put him in the Big Ten, the best line of scrimmage conference in the country. Can he hold up? And that's probably the biggest question mark a lot of USC fans have. Now, you go to the Texas game in 2023 where Wyoming went on the road and played Texas. Gavin Mayer played exceptionally well. And so the first thing I always look for a Group of 5 transfers, do we have a sample size of what they look like against Power 5 competition? Texas, that offensive line, one of the better units you saw in the country in 2023. Gavin Mayer more than held his own against a Texas Longhorns offensive line. And you kind of get into his play style a little bit. 6'4", 285. He's a little bit undersized for an interior defensive lineman. There's no question marks about that. But what he lacks in potential size, he more than makes up for with one, just grit. I mean, this is a guy that plays exceptionally hard. He runs down backside plays, but I think more importantly, exceptional hands. So you can tell he's played a lot of college football. He's polished up. He knows how to disengage from blocks. And again, maybe undersized, but he's a phenomenal athlete, knows how to use his hands, knows how to get off blocks and make plays at the line of scrimmage. I think that's what you're most excited about. Again, he's not necessarily an Isaiah Rakes, but he's a much better athlete than Isaiah Rakes, can provide more in the pass rush. I really like this guy for USC, a guy that I think is going to play a lot of football for USC in 2024. And you start looking at the rotation for USC, you start feeling a little bit better, right? You have Bear Alexander, Elijah Hughes, Gavin Mayer on the inside. And we've talked about it, right? Jide Abisari, a guy that I've been banging the table for since he committed to USC out of high school. He looks the part. Now, whether it comes together as a true freshman, that's still to be determined. But from a body point standpoint, I think Coach Wiley has done a phenomenal job getting his body ready. You get Carlin Jones coming in the summer. you start feeling a little bit better about what USC can do on the inside of the defensive line. And that's not to mention a guy like Nate Clifton, who probably can kick inside and give you some really good reps on the inside as well, in a kind of similar way that Gavin Mayer can, in terms of a lot of football has been played for Nate Clifton, can get off blocks, can hold up on the inside. This is a massive getting exactly how the portal needs to be used, right? Lincoln Riley checks a lot of boxes for this USC team heading into 2024. The interior defensive line was one of those big question marks. Now, you didn't want to go out and pay for a guy like Dominic Williams or Derek Harmon to come in for 6 months and then go to the NFL. I think this is a really nice pivot to address not only the depth questions, but a guy that's played a lot of football. Now, we're going to get into the film. We're going to look at that Texas game on Friday afternoon and talk about what Gavin Mayer brings from a film perspective. But I think for a lot of USC fans, there's a couple things to feel good about. One, a veteran player on the inside of the defensive line that's played a lot of football, but I think more importantly, this was a guy that had a lot of different Power 5 programs looking to add Gavin Mayer to their roster. USC getting it done in a market that was hard to land interior defensive linemen. Massive commitment. We'll break down the film Friday afternoon. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.